Welcome to part 2 of Batman the Animated Series Season 4. Last week's video, we covered the first 6 episodes, so if you haven't seen that, it's highly worth checking out. But in today's episode, we're going to be covering the 6 episodes on Disc 2 of the Batman Season 4 DVD. Those being Joker's Millions, Growing Pains, Love is a Croc, Torch Song, The Ultimate Thrill, and Over the Edge. So yeah, not much to say for the intro here, so like I said, the intro was in the last video, but anyway. Let's just get it started with episode 7, Joker's Millions. Yeah, I'm not waiting. This is the best Joker episode yet. It opens with an intense chase between Batman and Joker in a DVD store of all places, with this scene confirming one thing.
Quick, more bullets!
Sorry, Puddin', that was the last clip. You know how expensive they are.
The Joker and Harley don't have any money, and you might be wondering why that is. Well, let's all open up our copies of Superman the Animated Series Season 2 and take a look at the episode World's Finest for the answer. The Joker didn't have much money going into that episode, but of course he wasn't as bad as he is now. He says that thanks to Batman, all of his operations were shut down. I don't know if the events of Holiday Nights have anything to do with that, but that's neither here nor there. The Joker stole a giant piece of kryptonite with the following proposition for Lex Luthor.
Pay me $1 billion and I'll kill Superman.
I don't know why, but I always love the delivery of that line. Needless to say, this plan didn't really work out, and come to think of it, Joker blew up at the end.
At this point, he probably is.
But that's nothing new. The fact that he always comes back with no explanation just brings a massive smile on my face. The next scene is absolutely brilliant as Harley and Joker run out of gas. Although one funny detail is how clearly the footage of the Batmobile was directly reused from You Scratch My Back. But whatever. I don't even know what to say, it's just one genius line after another. And as Batman approaches, the Joker then ejects himself out of the car and flies away. But of course, they only had one, so Harley gets arrested. Joker is staying at this terrible apartment building that would make Bullock scoff. He lives here under this ridiculous fake name, Joe Kerr.
A letter came for you today, Mr. Kerr. By the way, you're 2 weeks late with your rent.
Sue me.
This next scene sets up the story, not without several witty lines.
Dear sir, we regret to inform you of the passing of Mr. Edward, a.k.a. King Barlow. Ooh, there's good news. I hated him. Who, in accordance with his last wishes, has bequeathed to you the total $250 million.
Joker now buys his sanity and a good reputation with his lawyers. This is almost a parody of Season 3. In that, we got episode after episode of villains going straight but being pulled back to crime. And in Double Talk, we got a twist ending. Here, now we're just laughing at the trope at this point, since everyone knows this isn't going to end well, but the concept is just so funny, with Batman being really pissed off about it. The other part of this episode I don't like is Barbara and Dick trying to get into the Iceberg Lounge. Oh wait, I guess I haven't talked about that. It'll be more relevant in The Ultimate Thrill, which is just a few episodes from now, but I'll give you the Cliff Notes version. Penguin now runs a nightclub and claims to be a legitimate businessman, while doing his dealings on the side. Anyway, I don't like Barbara needing to pretend to be a brat and use her status as the commissioner's daughter to get in, since that adds very little to the story, except the fact that the Penguin, of course, is the butt of the joke, as he oh so frequently is on BTAS. The lounge is raided by King Barlow's old crew looking to kill Joker since he wanted the money, with Batgirl and Nightwing now putting a stop to it. This begs the question of why King Barlow would give the Joker the money to begin with since they hate each other so much. But we have another question to deal with. What about Harley? Oh, well, a man with such high social status as the Joker couldn't possibly associate himself with the lowly, insane Harley Quinn, now could he? It would be much cheaper to hire a new one, with Harley's reaction being exactly what you'd expect. This scene of him hiring a new Harley is just so funny. It's not really because of what he's saying, it's just because of how no censor these days would let these insults pass. Take a look.
Too fat. Too small. Too old. No.
Darn!
And now it's time for the conflict. A man from the IR frickin' S shows up and tells Joker about how much income tax he owes.
$250 million minus Uncle Sam's current state and federal percentages. This should clear up your account.
$137 million?
Yes, and if I don't pay up, I'll go to jail for tax evasion. I'm crazy enough to take on Batman, but the IRS, no, thank you.
Are you kidding me? For once, I'm saying that in a positive way. The Joker just said, I'm crazy enough to take on Batman, but the IRS? No, thank you. What other Batman show has this? The unexpected nature of the plot makes it so funny. In addition to great one-liners like,
drown the kids and shoot the neighbors. We've got a winner.
This is the kind of dialogue that elevates a show from being good for kids, just generally being good.
Maybe I should have hired the fat guy.
I mean, again, the IRS is after Joker for income tax. That's just funny, I don't know what to say. But you have seen nothing yet. The Joker is trying to find the money for the IRS, but all the bills left have King Barlow's face on them. This is when the whole story comes into light.
I found this.
Hiya, Joker. If you're playing this tape, you probably figured out you've been had. Yeah, I left you some cash, but only 10 million, which knowing you, you've already blown. All the other stuff, money, jewels, and gold, it's all fake. See, I always hated your guts, and this was the perfect payback. By now, you're probably out of real money. The IRS is after you, and you can't admit I fooled you, or you'll be the laughing stock of the underworld. That joke's on you, sucker. I got the last laugh after all.
Oh my god. I'm running out of words for this episode. So anyway, next up, fake Harley starts doing that annoying laugh again, and Joker just pulls out a gun and tries to shoot her. We also get a good reference to continuity as the assistant mentions the laughing fish from season 2.
Maybe you could raise the cash by pulling one of your classic routines, like them laughing fish.
Good idea, Ernie. Let's let Batman know I did it so he can kick my keister right back into Arkham.
You...
Just figured I'd say that because I saw that episode. And we still aren't done with this episode since now Harley's trying to escape Arkham, as Bruce tries to find the Joker at the Iceberg Lounge, only to obviously tell this isn't the real Joker.
You'll understand if I refuse. The last time we met, you tried to throw me off a building.
I did? Well, that was so long ago.
It was last month.
That was also a reference to continuity since this happened in World's Finest. Batman then interrogates the guy to find out where the real Joker is, and he's trying to steal the money without anyone knowing it was him. But now Batman, Batgirl, and Nightwing are onto him.
Don't be stupid. You can't save that money.
I don't want to save it. I want to go with it.
You'd better call your fancy lawyers. Here. It's on me.
To close the episode, the status quo is back in place as Joker goes back to Arkham.
So I'll let the taxpayers foot my bill again. Besides, it'll be nice to see the old gang.
One of them's dying to see you too, Puddin'.
Harley?
The one and only.
You don't know how happy I am to see you.
Welcome to the club.
Now, baby, I can explain. Ow! No!
And that was Joker's Millions. After thoroughly discussing it, it is top tier season 4 material. While it's not a serious or deep story like Sins of the Father or Old Wounds, an episode I'll get to, the fact of the matter is that this episode is almost flawless. I am serious, I had thought the scene outside the nightclub was a bit needless, but it still moves the story along, and gets another shot in on the Penguin. Looking past that, this episode is just filled to the brim with creativity and so many moments you just can't forget about. Like when Joker blows up the TV or hires fake Harley when the freaking IRS guy shows up. Genius in a way other shows aimed at kids wouldn't even dare to think of. The humor is what stands out here. I can tell everyone had a fun time with this episode since it shows in the final product. Like I said, this is a damn near perfect episode, one of my favorite episodes of BTAS and possibly the DCAU as a whole. Which brings me to the next episode, Growing Pains, which takes place after Sins of the Father but before Holiday Nights for a reason that shall become clear. The episode begins with an unfamiliar little girl running through the alleyways as she's then harassed by this motorcycle gang, until Robin arrives to save her, which establishes that evidently Robin is allowed to patrol the streets by himself. This girl acts peculiar as she says that someone is after her. At the same time, a mystery man's wreaking havoc. I feel you might be able to guess the plot at this point. Robin is concerned for the well-being of the girl, much to the dismay of the oh-so-robotic Batman.
From the sound of it, she belongs in a runaway center. And you need to keep your head clear. In this line of work, one slip is too many.
Despite the cliche, this does lead to a funny interaction between Tim and Alfred.
He always treats me like a kid.
Pardon me for saying so, but you are a kid.
Sure, take his side.
Anyway, Robin decides he's gonna search for her himself, with a long montage of Robin trying to find her as we see the real pits of Gotham. This is barely connected to the plot of the episode, but this montage only made me think about the point I made last season. That being that it would be hard to find a good reason for any super criminal to want to reform because high society doesn't accept them, and not being a criminal means they have to live in torn up buildings that the corrupt are going to use for their own gain. My examples included Appointment in Crime Alley and I Am the Night, however here it's the worst it's ever been with people sleeping on the floor without a roof. These areas suck. Once again, not a big part of the plot, but something interesting to say the least. That's when they all find out that, surprise, the mystery girl and man are connected. But he gets away in a strange fashion, leaving a weird substance behind which can only be one man, Clayface. I mentioned back in Holiday Nights that we didn't know how Clayface came back after Mudslide where he died, and here's our answer. When Clayface fell into the water, it made his cells too unstable to make a solid form, in addition to his deteriorating conditions from that episode. At sea, he came into contact with the waste from a chemical company, and this is what brought him back, and better than ever. So much better that he even sent a scout in the form of a little girl to get info on his surroundings for him. But she forgot about her true purpose, and this was why he was after her. I will say, the fact that this girl is just a clay monstrosity is a surprising twist in what I was ready to call a cliche episode. I do feel bad for Robin here. He doesn't want to help this girl because she's a girl, but because she reminds him of himself just a few episodes ago, just scraping by, always on the run, in the pits of Gotham City. Not a life that's going to lead to great places, I can tell you that much. Anyway, Batman uses the tracker he placed in Robin's belt to find him, and I'm guessing he realized that he might need one after Dick Grayson as Robin got captured in Demon's Quest. Couldn't that make a plot hole in Return of the Joker? Maybe not. The whole episode's about Batman finally treating Robin less like a kid and more like a partner, so maybe he took it out by then. In an effort to save Robin, the girl jumps into Clayface, which sets him back a few feet, with Robin instantly retaliating as Batman arrives to stop the whole thing. Ending the episode on a sad note for Robin.
We'll book him on the robberies and B&E, right? Anything else?
Yeah. Murder.
I realize now that I don't have much to say about this episode from an analytical standpoint, but overall I did enjoy it. I enjoyed the look at the people of Gotham as well as how dingy the city can be, the best part being how the ending is nowhere near as uplifting as these things usually go. Overall, not an episode with a lot going on, so I'd just say it's pretty good, but not much else. Now it's time for an episode that I never saw coming. Love is a Croc. Well, what do I mean? The episode opens with a black and white TV show with oh so familiar music.
Did you use the whole box of bubble bath?
I didn't mean to.
Anyway, a completely drunk guy gets pulled into this motel by his wife as she gets pissed off at him. Of course, he lost the keys to the room and needed another one. Does that remind anybody of the hotel break-in in Chapter 3 of Sly 3? I don't know, that's the first thing I thought of.
Lars, you got the keys to the room?
Yeah, hold on. Butler, don't you have them?
No, you're the responsible. Here, let's just bang on the door.
But let's get back to the episode in question.
My husband lost our room key. Fetters 703.
I'll get you a duplicate.
Mary Dahl is back, eh? The drunk guy served a few purposes in the story right out the gate. We can start with the obvious one. Well, actually, they're all pretty self-explanatory, but still. He gave the rundown of Mary's past, and if you need more specifics, Mary debuted in the Season 3 episode Baby Doll, one of the most popular episodes. In it, we found out that she was 1 in a million born with systemic hypoplasia, which in this universe means that her growth was stunted a long time ago. She was the star of Love That Baby, a parody of your run-of-the-mill family sitcom where Baby had all kinds of wacky adventures. When she was upstage, she quit the show and moved on, but her career tanked as she couldn't get networks to bring it back. In addition, the rest of the cast moved on as well, but she physically couldn't move on because of how bad she was typecast. But then she kidnapped the old cast and crew with Batman and Robin saving the day. I rewatched the last few moments of that episode before writing about this one, and that ending just still gets to me to this day. But speaking of that ending, she must have completed rehabilitation since she's working at this motel at the front desk. I'm surprised that Bruce Wayne didn't just get her a job since he did that for Arnold Wesker in Double Talk, and his crimes were arguably more egregious than what Mary had done. Anyway, the drunk guy provokes Mary into attacking him, to which she returns to her place right away. Once again, I've got to feel sorry for her. By this point, unlike a lot of people we've seen on this show, she really isn't trying to be a part of that identity, since she even disassociated herself with the bodyguard from the last episode. She probably wants to forget everything in regards to her confrontation with Batman, but she's forced to do so constantly, which is once again a product of her actions a long time ago. But I can only imagine what it's like. She turns on the TV only to have a 24-hour Love That Baby marathon playing.
Our baby doll marathon will continue after...
Even though the guy on the TV just referred to it as Baby Doll, well, that's not the name of the show. Just saying. Back to my real point, she angrily changes the channel to a live trial of none other than... Wait, who the hell's that? Obviously it's Croc with his new design, but I don't mind the design, and I just really hate the guy this season. They recasted him for some reason, but the voice is just so generic as a tough guy as opposed to being the distinct one he used to have. I was gonna complain that his funny side isn't even here, but then I remembered that he never had one. Can I just get this off my chest? Everyone remembers Croc as being the I threw a rock at him guy from Almost Got Him, but Croc was never that stupid in BTAS. That was actually Batman dressed as him, subtly telling us that Batman thinks that Croc is stupid. And he treats him as such in Bane. Speaking of which, in Bane, Croc was running his own operation, and in his debut episode, Vendetta, he had solely plotted to murder Bullock. This is a massive tangent, but I'm basically saying that Croc in this season isn't that different. I just don't like his voice, and the things he does in this episode that we'll see. Croc claims that he's a misunderstood figure since he is the way he is, and this of course speaks to Mary, who clearly has nobody else to latch onto at this point. Croc has played this card before in Sideshow, but he led to his own undoing by fighting with Batman. At this point, I feel little to no sympathy for the guy. Croc gets sentenced to death, but busts out with Batman stopping him. Mary stops by to visit him at Arkham Asylum. Unless this is his first time here, this is another bit of continuity that doesn't ruin the plot, since in the grand scheme of things, it doesn't make a big difference, but in all the previous seasons, he was just put in jail for being a criminal, not for being insane. But then again, he was at Arkham in trial, but he was in the GCPD in Bane. I don't know, maybe trial takes place after Bane despite coming before. I mean, this season's done that with Holiday Nights, Sins of the Father, and Growing Pains, so who knows? If that was the case and he was changed to Arkham after Bane and before trial, then there actually isn't an issue here, but... You didn't come to witness me do DCAU math, we have an episode to talk about. Mary saves Croc and then they become a Harley and Ivy-esque combo, but Mary actually feels like they're a kindred spirit, with all the papers even writing about them, even the Daily Planet. I always thought it was interesting that Doll had redesigned Croc's sewer lair to resemble a 50s sitcom house. Almost like that's all she knows. They then plan their next move, but it's ruined by Batman and Batgirl, and in a rage, Croc decides to leave, and things get... interesting.
You're in the chips, huh, Croc?
Yeah, I'm heading for the big time, and I mean solo.
Oh? What about the little woman?
Couple more jobs and I ditch the Cupid doll and blow this burg.
Oh boy, poor Mary. Once again, I'm just left feeling sorry for her. She didn't do anything wrong here. Well, I'm talking about the relationship. I know she was just on a mass crime spree, but still. My point is, she only showed Croc compassion and he just doesn't care about her or her needs. It makes me sad because she could be a good person, but things like this keep happening. Only showing that he's a manipulative ass as seen in Sideshow, just using people around him to get ahead. And I can't wait to see Batman take him down. Back to Mary though. Despite her rants about not being a child, she definitely doesn't handle this breakup like an adult. Her plan is to blow up the city with her and Croc spending their last moments together. My god. This only goes to show that her mental state is practically non-existent at this point. Again, I just wish she'd been dealt a better hand. But that doesn't mean she isn't worthy of criticism, since she says she wants to be treated like an adult, but in her whole debut episode and this scene goes to show how she doesn't act like one. I said I wanted to see Croc get what is coming to him, and thankfully that happens right now.
She's crazy. She's gonna nuke the whole poop.
Batgirl's working on shutting off the reactor as Batman goes to find Croc, as he's now trying to kill Mary.
Hey baby, now we'll play my kind of game.
Seriously, this is a very action-packed climax. Now let's see the ending.
You shouldn't have done it, Crocky. You shouldn't have made baby angry. We could have been so happy and lived happily ever after, just like on TV.
If I were to complain about anything here, it would be how we never get to see what Batman thinks of any of this. Beyond the scene where Batgirl asks what Croc and Mary would do on a date, with him only responding with this,
I don't want to think about it.
Which was funny, but I mean, we never get on the same level of emotion as the ending of Baby Doll. Sure, Batman didn't say anything there either, but his actions spoke louder than his words. Here, we really don't get that. But I wish we did get his reaction, since this is also Mary's final appearance, which means that I'm a little let down by the ending. Mary Doll is a character that I feel deserves a happy ending, so maybe 1 minute saying that she works for Bruce as a secretary or something would do the job just fine. However, as it stands, her final words are quite tragic. Just like on TV. That's depressing for her, since if it wasn't clear enough, TV was the only source of happiness for this woman. As a result, that's really all she knows. A melancholy end for her character, but what more can you do? There was a lot to say about that one, so thankfully we have 2 whole episodes that aren't too deep, and as a result shouldn't take us too long. So next up is Torch Song. Throughout my videos on BTAS, another series I've always drawn comparison to would be 2004's The Batman, since alongside the DCAU's Justice League, The Batman was one of my first exposures to the Batman mythos. The relevance of that statement is this. In The Batman, I was first exposed to the villain Firefly, real name being Garfield Lins. Honestly, I really don't know what is the most accurate portrayal of the character, since as of now I've only seen him in 3 works total. Here in the DCAU, where he appears in this season and makes an appearance in the 2nd season of Justice League, his origins being something we'll go into as we talk about this episode. The Batman is the 2nd time I've seen an incarnation of Firefly, and lastly the Arkham games, where he was one of the assassins after Batman and Arkham Origins, and then there was a stupid side quest related to him in Arkham Knight. He's not an assassin in this episode, or in the Batman where he was about corporate espionage. Point is that these 3 appearances are the only ones I've seen, and I have no idea which is the comic book version since they're all so different. But I do think it's actually agreed that one of his best appearances was the Batman, to the point where it beats out the DCAU version of Firefly. Yeah, I just said that. FYI, the Batman beating out the DCAU is rare, if not unheard of. What he does there is more interesting, and his design is much better than just a gray suit. All this talk has led to the question, what is his story in BTAS? Well, let's find out. The episode opens as Bruce is being dragged into some concert by this new girl that probably should have been Veronica for the sake of consistency, however, that doesn't really matter. This woman has no impact on the story. They pass by Barbara, thus setting up the fact that she's in the episode, and that's when we get backstage.
I remember when you used to dress like that for me.
Gar, we have a show to put on, remember?
Don't worry, Cass, I won't disappoint you. My job is the only thing I care about now.
Let it go, Garfield. Whatever you thought we had is as cold as a burnt-out fuse.
Hey, you're the expert on burning people, you little tramp. And if you think I'm going to step aside like one of your pretty boys...
Okay, that's it. It's your last show. You heard that, Frank? Cut him a check, he's out.
Damn. Pretty creepy for a Saturday morning, but he is the villain, so no harm, no foul. You've probably already guessed what's going to happen in this episode, and let me just say, you're right. Lins tries to fry Cassidy alive with the stage effects as Bruce is not able to help since his date is right next to him. And to that I say good riddance, because this song is garbage.
My cheeks are hot, my lips are burning, the flames of love dance in my eyes. I've got just one, that's word of warning. Play with me and you play with fire.
But that's when Batgirl saves the day. The police investigate Lin's apartment, to which they find that he has a wall of Cassidy posters. Ugh. Once again, the plot has basically been revealed already and we're only 4 minutes in. But this leads to a great line from Bullock.
I'll get some pictures. I'm gonna check the fridge.
Yeah, there's a lot of evidence in there, Detective.
Shut up.
Lins, now Firefly, tries to kill Cassidy again at a show with Batman and Batgirl arriving to stop him, to which Batman is dropped from a terrifyingly high altitude and just barely survives.
Sorry. Gotta fly.
Seriously, Batman has taken a real beating this season. Long story short, Firefly captures Cassidy with Batman and Batgirl just barely surviving an explosion, but Batgirl broke her leg, and so Batman's gonna have to go solo on this one with this fire-resistant Batsuit. Probably intended to sell toys, although I think this is the very first time in all of BTAS that this has happened. SDAS had a lot of various suits for Superman as well, in spite of the fact that in both cases I'm not too upset since it was given context in the shows. Although I don't know where Alfred got any of the material for this. Hence why I like it when Lucius knows who Batman is. Makes more sense that he makes these enhancements. But back onto the toys discussion, can I ask you guys, as kids, did anyone actually want these dumb variations? I myself always prefer the normal versions and not Deep Dive Batman or T-Shield Batman or Viking Batman. Back to the episode. Firefly's plan centers around turning the city into ashes with a chemical that burns through anything, but it can't be put out. Following that, Firefly would take Cassidy with him as they fall into obscurity, which is almost the exact same plan I used at Cold Comfort from a few episodes ago, only with fire instead. But of course, Batman saves the day, and that's basically it. I think this episode is a classic case of getting worse upon closer inspection. The episode makes for an entertaining watch, but from an analytical perspective, this story is easily predicted from the first 5 minutes with nothing else added to make it more interesting. There isn't much in the way of action, and the ending is really weird. Cass now has PTSD from the fire. Okay. I feel bad for her since she didn't do anything to deserve this beyond firing a creep who didn't know what boundaries were. In If You're So Smart, Why Aren't You Rich? It was unfortunate that Mockridge was going to have to live with the threat of Riddler killing him for the rest of his life, but he was a jerk, so therefore he got what was coming to him. There was one scene where Cass tries to seduce Batman into protecting her from Fireflies, so maybe she did something like that to make Linz think they were legit, but the problem is that we don't get told his side of the story, nor do we see the past relationship to get the facts of what really happened, leaving me with a ton of mixed messages from the ending. The fact that Linz is such a creep and is portrayed as such with no redeeming characteristics makes him a weaker character. The other versions of Firefly that I've already discussed didn't have many things going for them either, but they didn't have many things going against them at the same time, with the Batman's Firefly getting several episodes to develop, where this guy just gets this season and a very small role in a later episode, and an even smaller role in JL Season 2. But I've spent long enough on this episode. It could have been better, but at the same time it could have been worse, so let's move on. The next episode, titled The Ultimate Thrill, begins in a party blimp as our new villain, Roxy Rocket, is holding the place up for Jules. I was about to go on a paragraph-long rant about how she jumps out the plane without the bag, or if you look closely at the opening scene, she puts the bag in her jacket. But if you blink, you miss it. The Batwing is severely damaged after the really boring minute-long chase scene, but it does lead to a good line from Alfred.
This is coming out of your allowance, Master Bruce.
Her backstory revealed later in the episode is that Roxy was once a stunt actress who kept on trying to top herself with the stunts, to the point where she was costing the studio a lot of money, and when Hollywood has to spend too much money, you're fired. Hence why she does outlandish robberies for the top buyer, the Penguin. We had seen the Iceberg Lounge before in Joker's Millions, but now we get to see how he's using it as a front for his side dealings. In the next scene, Batman now has a wingsuit to sell toys with. 2 episodes back to back, eh? What's cool about the wingsuit is how it shows the improved technology yet again, since we saw back in BTAS that Batman had to use the hang glider to go through the air when he's not in the Batwing. The wingsuit is just a more effective design than the hang glider, and I like that. Penguin gets fed up with Roxy's recklessness and sends his goons to kill her, with Batman interrogating him over the location. Damn, that's a lot of money and property damage. Roxy easily beats Penguin's hench girls. Batman arrives to stop her as they board a rocket that's heading towards a cliffside. I was wondering why there was a cliffside right next to Gotham City, but technically we also saw something similar in the episode The Forgotten from Season 1. Maybe both take place here, who knows?
I get it. We live to play another day. What's this?
My kind of game. And you lost.
And that's it for the episode. No lie, the ultimate thrill is the season 4 episode that I have the least to say about, which in this case is a flaw. A good percent of this episode's runtime is dedicated to action and chase scenes that really don't leave any impact while watching them, since it all feels so soulless, if that makes any sense. I really don't have strong feelings for Roxy as a character, and so her dodging a million bullets from the Penguin just leaves me yawning. Since this episode was so dry, let's not waste any time and move on to Over the Edge. One of the things I've been building up is how Season 4 utilizes mystery to get you engaged. Remember what I said about the first 2 episodes. For the characters, nothing was out of place but a new Robin Holiday Nights, but now we're interested because we want to know the story. And that story is revealed in Sins of the Father. But on the subject of Over the Edge, this episode's intro is possibly one of the most intriguing we've ever seen. Take a look.
Bruce Wayne, stop where you are!
What is going on? Gordon knows who Batman is? He and the cops are chasing them through the Batcave as Dick's Robin suit is destroyed? The Batmobile is blown to pieces as Alfred is brought to the ground by the cops? I know that was mostly summary, but that really speaks for itself. This is how a Saturday morning Batman episode opens? Imagine seeing this, having no idea what was going on. It still blows my mind how you can have so much intrigue in 2 minutes time. Batman and Robin just barely escape in the boat, but the cops were waiting for them here too. Thankfully, Nightwing manages to arrive in time and freaking blows up the boat the cops were in. The CGI Batboat here is also of much higher quality than anything we saw in Sub-Zero. I figured I'd mention that since this is on a TV budget, whereas Sub-Zero was direct to DVD. Although technically I'm not sure which one would get a higher budget from the offset, but still. It's now time for us to learn why any of this is happening. Scarecrow is up to his usual antics at City Hall, with Batman and Robin defeating all the goons as Batgirl chased after Crane. The tone of this flashback is on point. Of course, we have Scarecrow's amazing design, but at the same time, there isn't an adventurous piece of music in the background. It's mostly ambient noise, making the whole scene feel very eerie. Oh my god. I've talked about lessened censors before, but that was mostly in references to blood and guns. Nobody actually died! If you asked me if this was suitable for kids, I'd have to think about that. Batgirl is smacked across the face, falls hundreds of stories, and crashed into a moving police car that her father was driving. Even Season 4 Batman is surprised, and that's saying something. The seriousness of this tragedy is shown off not just in the gruesome animation, not just the haunting music, but the voice actors really sell this plot. We see a side of Gordon we've never seen before, as well as Bullock. He's always hated Batman, but never to this extent.
That's as far as you go, murderer. Playtime's over, freak. Lose the belt, lose the mask. Now. I said now!
This goes for every character. We also see the moments before the opening as Gordon has a really intense call with Batman over the phone, resulting in the cops bursting through the door. We don't get to see what he's looking at, but before Batman enters the Batcave, he stops and looks. This has got to be that giant frame of his parents that we often see in the most tragic moments, like when Bruce and Dick first bond in Robin's Reckoning, or that heart-wrenching scene where Bruce gets the letter from Andrea and decides to commit to being Batman and Phantasm. I can only imagine what he was thinking. After all, in Scarecrow's debut, Nothing to Fear, we saw his greatest fear was being a failure in the eyes of his father, something we've seen numerous times in the show. So, I can only imagine that's what he's thinking in this moment. Nightwing tries to get some supplies, but he's shot up by the police and arrested as well, leading to a heartbreaking moment between Tim and Bruce, as Tim still clings on to hope that this will work out, but Bruce does not share his sentiment.
They've got him downtown. I figure we break in, take out the guards, and spring Nightwing and Alfred at the same time.
No.
What do you mean?
It's over, Tim. Gordon feels betrayed, and maybe he was. He won't give up until he gets me. You have to leave me now. Give yourself up. No one will blame you for what happened.
What about you?
I don't know.
Gordon has spent so many resources on this manhunt, but because of this, Mayor Hill fires Gordon over the fact. But before this is made official, Gordon strikes a deal, and it is actually this point where the episode starts to lose me. Not in a terrible way, but just not as good as before. Gordon has set up a trap for Batman at the funeral, and that trap is Bane. Gordon struck a deal with Bane to capture Batman. I just don't buy this. I mean, I get it, he's desperate, but does he really think Bane will want to honor this agreement? Especially after how bad he was embarrassed by Batman in the previous Bane episode. The events of that episode are never really mentioned, but still. Also, can I say that I vastly prefer this Bane design of the BTAS one? Bane here is less comic accurate than Season 3, but he just looks more menacing with the red on black eyes and the spikes around his mask. But still, how did anyone know Batman would go to that exact door to be hit by Bane? It's a bit too coincidental for my liking. Putting that aside, Bane challenges Batman to a fight to the death, and he accepts. This fight is even more dynamic than last season's Bane fight, since one character never has the advantage for too long, as they both land deadly blows throughout. Of course, in the end, Gordon is betrayed by Bane, and is about to be killed, but Batman saves him. Yeah, this episode was a dream. I'm not as upset as you might think, though. This has been a theme with Season 4. They make ideas that are hard to swallow work out. What really happened was that Barbara was sprayed with the Scarecrow's fear toxin, and a new kind that affects your nightmares. This inspires her to finally tell her father about being Batgirl, however, he doesn't want her to tell him since she's an adult and anything that she gets herself into is her choice. I actually like that for Gordon's character. He probably already knows that she's Batgirl. I mean, a mask over your eyes or not, you can tell if someone's your own child. He's basically giving her the agency in this decision to work with Batman, thus ending the episode. This is a very popular episode, and I dare say it's one of the most popular in the season. I greatly enjoyed it since it's a stunning what-if scenario with a lot of depth coming from all the characters involved. The dream twist also gives context as to why the finale was a bit contrived, since most dreams are. But it ended where it needed to. Batman and Gordon are on good terms, but in the end are killed by Bane. Not much else to say there in regards to the story. But from a writing standpoint, since the climax is a bit contrived, it can't beat the likes of Joker's Millions or a few episodes we'll talk about later. However, the ride there was quite enjoyable. So that covers Disc 2 of TNBA, and also with it ends Part 2 of the series of videos. So, like I said, it's a 1-week interval, so next week come back for 6 more episodes in Disc 3 of the season. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you next time.